Welcome to the Best Self Podcast. Today we've got Mike Zeller rocking the house with us. He's got incredible hair. Glasses are looking good. On top of that, he's an incredible business architect. He's an entrepreneur and mentor. He's a guy that's essentially crashed and burned more than one time, yet he's still been a founder or a partner to over 17 companies. Thanks for being here, buddy.
Brad, already enjoying connecting and love what you're about and love the focus on best self. That's part of my mission in life, is to unleash the God-given talent and potential of others. And that's why I created The Genius Within. That's why so much of what I do is focus on unleashing your best self. So we're in resonance, my friend.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah, you've got so much incredible experience behind you, because you haven't just been, you didn't start on the top, you didn't start on the pedestal. You started literally from square one a couple times, and generating millions, losing millions, and you always end up on top. And I think it's those experiences that make you incredible, because there's not a person that's sitting in front of you that you can't generally relate to, because you've been in the middle, top, and the bottom. You are an author as well, and I love your book, The Genius Within. Oh, that is a sexy title. I was talking to someone earlier today, and we were talking about risk-averse lifestyles. And the stat was, by the time you're 18, if you lived in just in a reasonably positive household, you will have been told no, rough estimate, 148,000 times before you're 18. And then you've got this genius within, connecting risk. Because a lot of people, I know you know this, a lot of people don't bet on themselves. They don't invest in themselves. They don't believe their own big ideas are real. How do we pull out the genius within when we've kind of been wired that way? How do we rewire ourselves?
Great question, Brad. So I'm going to break it down in a couple of different layers. First, the first one is our money mindset. Our identity is like an invisible ceiling. It's like that glass ceiling of limitation. It's that upper limit. And so we're often like waves. If you look at an energy wave, or the law of physics, an object in motion stays in motion unless acted upon by an outside source. That's why for lots of times in life change, I've coached hundreds and hundreds of entrepreneurs, 6, 7, 8, even 9-figure entrepreneurs now. And when someone enters into your vortex, they have the capacity to create a new wave, a new ricochet. All right. So if you're trapped in the no land, one of my favorite movies, Sidetrack, is Yes Man. I don't know if you've seen that. Yeah. So Jim Carrey. Yeah. But he was trapped in this path of no. And we say no to our life, say no to our potential, say no to our future. Yet at the beginning, when we were born, I just had a daughter. She's 5 months old now. My little sonnet. I have so many dreams and hopes, and I see so much potential in her, right? But by the age of 11, most kids don't think they're creative. Yeah. Right? Schools, like you said, culture, parents, we're passing on this culture that says, hey, you know what? Don't make a mistake. Don't screw up. Your grades are focused on what you did wrong versus what you did right, oftentimes. And you're not encouraged to try and fail. But if you look at a connection, I have been interacting with Sarah Blakely's husband, Jesse Itzler. Sarah Blakely just sold her company worth over $1 billion. I don't know what she sold it for yet. That's not publicly released yet. Right. But one of the most successful women in the world. You know what her dad used to ask her as a kid?
What?
Every day at dinner? What did you fail at today? Mastered both her and her brother. And guess what? She embodied and accepted and embraced failure is progress, failure is learning, failure is growth. So first you got to have the right mentality.
Yeah.
Then there's some other layers that define your deepest area of genius. There's a clear path on how to do it. I think I've created the most clear path on how to do it, but you first got to have that mentality that I'm letting go of this, middle class mindset around failure. Because middle class, I grew up middle class. My parents didn't want me to get bad grades. They didn't want me to screw up in sports. They didn't want me to. Versus,
Yeah.
you know what? A billionaire mindset's like, hey, you know what? I'm going to go bankrupt a few times.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to learn. I'm going to get better. So,
amen to that. Yeah. I mean, I want to make as many selectively aggressive mistakes that I can make this week. I mean, let's get after it.
that's right.
I always talk about how the world is run by great questions. Everyone's always searching for knowledge and answers, but really, as you know, the great ones, they walk into an interview or they walk into anything and they generally know what questions to ask. They're always penetrating and always hungry to learn. What questions would you say we should be asking ourselves to reveal that inner genius?
So for my 6 and 7 figure entrepreneurs in my symposium mastermind, here's one of the key questions: is what does my environment look like for success as I define it to be inevitable? What does my environment have to look like for success as I define it to be inevitable? So you start looking at the people, the places, the things. What am I learning? What are my habits? What am I letting go of? What am I stop doing? What am I start doing? So that's the first thing. Now, in terms of the second thing on the genius side, is our lives are littered with clues. The problem is most of us are, we bypass the clues. It's like sometimes our clues are whispering to us. We're in such a hurry and we're tuning out. We don't hear the whispers of life. And I think clues for your genius show up in 4 main quadrants. And if you use all 4 quadrants, the intersection of all of those gives you your deepest area of genius. I can break those down real quick if you want to.
Break it.
All right. So the first quadrant is your unique talents. What are your talents? Like, what are you really gifted at? Like I asked you before we popped on, what is Brad one of the best in the world at, or has the potential to be one of the best in the world at? And I take people through, part of what I do is I take people through 5 different personality tests. Why 5? They all measure something different. Okay? And so our goal, if you think of your life and you think of your purpose, your path, your genius, your unique pathway to monetize your gifting, the clues are spread out. They're in this table, on that table, they're over there in a different room. But if you could get them all together, like I saw on your bookshelf, I think you got Good to Great back there, right?
Yeah.
All right. So if you remember in that book, Jim Collins, one of the best researchers and writers of our era on business, he gathered all the data and then he looked for the patterns. He didn't decide what the patterns were going to be before he gathered the data. All right. So what if we apply that same sort of thinking to our lives? So I take people through Colby Index, Wealth Dynamics, my favorite personality test. If you haven't taken it yet, Brad, you got to take it. It's going to show you your natural pathway to build wealth. Strengths Finder, Myers-Briggs, and DISC Profile. Those are the 5 tests for the unique talents. And I have a whole worksheet and workbook on this. Second, go through key relationships. When I did a relationship inventory, you want to look at, hey, who gives me life? Who gives me death? Who am I juiced to be around? And I could spend hours and hours and hours around these types of people. And then the next part of the key relationships is, who do I have a natural cluster of relationships? I looked around. I was just selling real estate, investing in real estate, had a little real estate empire. And I looked around and I was like, why do I have all these best-selling authors as friends?
Yeah.
I hadn't written a book. I didn't even think I was going to write a book. That was a clue.
Right.
Then the third thing, sorry, my bad.
No, go. Yeah.
Then the third thing is your defining life moments. The moments where something terrible happens or something beautiful happens or something you have a state of flow and you're like just in the zone and this comes easy to you. So I remember one of mine, I was 21 or 22 years old and I'm mentoring this college student. And he pulls me aside on a trip. We're on to a leadership conference in Atlanta. He says, Mike, you're the best mentor I've ever had. Now, my friend Art, he had a best-selling author dad. Like, there was a massive leadership guru, and eventually wrote like all these leadership books. So his dad is a great leadership expert, but then he said to me, I'm his best mentor he's ever had. That was like, oh, now that was a clue.
Absolutely.
So then I had like Theodore Roosevelt. We look at all the national parks. He lost his wife and his mother when his wife was giving birth to her first daughter at the age of 22, I think he was. His wife dies. 24 hours later, his mom dies. He's despondent. He's ripped. His heart is ripped out. He decides, leaves his daughter with his newborn daughter with his aunt, because he's like, I'm in total grief. Goes and lives in the wilderness in North Dakota and South Dakota for 6 months, hunts, gets back in touch with himself, develops an even deeper appreciation for nature. Guess what he ends up doing later on? He preserves most of our most beautiful national parks.
Yeah.
Theodore Roosevelt.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so that's define life moments. And the last one is your values and passions. What do you stand for? What do you stand against? And what are you insatiably curious about? When you assemble all the clues, like I'm summing up a process that takes about 6 hours in about 5 minutes, but you do all that. Now it's like the clues will pop like popcorn, and you'll connect the dots. Steve Jobs said you can only see the dots by looking backwards. Well, we can look backwards on our life from wherever you're at right now and see there's breadcrumbs of clues littered throughout our life if we look.
Yeah, no doubt, man. That is good stuff. That is, you can't see it right now, but I feel like I've got a 6-pack abs right now, just clenching, listening to you speak about all that stuff. We were talking about off air. I'm a relationships guy. I'm a networking guy. To a fault, I've never really looked at how much I'm bringing in. I know that I'm doing enough to do well, but for me, I've always been a believer that for me, I take an audit. I audit my attitude. I audit my energy. I audit my relationships. I take an audit behavior. And if those things aren't trending, have me trending in the direction of my big ideas, then I kick them to the curb. And I just love everything because you could technically, with all those things, you could be taking audits like on your unique talents. I was listening to you talk about clues, and I was just talking about this the other day. So many guys, on a lighter note, don't know what the hell to get their wives or their girlfriends, but they're always leaving us clues. We're just not paying attention. We were talking about your Dream 100 before we got on. That is awesome stuff. I want to just tie that to, you talk about weak language. People having weak language when speaking about their dreams, or maybe their dream board, or their big ideas, or any of that, the 4 things you listed. How do we remove weak language? And maybe you could give our listeners an idea, like, what is weak language in your book? And then kind of tie that to how do we strengthen that moving towards our dream board?
Yeah. So great question, Brad. And I love that you brought up what I call is weak ass language and weak ass words. And the reason is that literally our words are either strengthening us or they're disempowering us. They're like, your words can rip the spine out of your back, or they can embolden and give you a spine of steel. Okay. And so you think of David Goggins, running miles on a broken leg. He didn't have weak ass language. Weak ass language would have disempowered him.
Yes.
All right. So here's some common phrases that slip into our language patterns. Try. I'm going to try and do that. Just you literally are saying, I'm okay with failing. That's what it means. And your body can feel it. Okay. Your body can feel it. I hope to. You caught yourself and interrupted, which is one of the big things you want to be doing. Is like, I still say weak ass language occasionally, but I also have a culture in my masterminds and my clients, in my family, in my relationship with my wife. We interrupt weak ass language.
Yeah.
It's just a cultural, like, back to the environment. What does my environment need to look like for me to show up in my most powerful, dynamic self? Well, I need to have a cultural standard in my internal team, my employees, that they know that standard too. We interrupt it. So hope to also, one of the ones that really slides in there, it sounds really good, is I would love to. I would love to do that someday.
Yeah. That is the
But
truth.
you know what that means? I want to, but I can't.
Yeah.
So you're just like, you're just neutering your power when you use those words. And then let's go to someone who uses powerful language, God. Moses is on Mount Sinai. Mount Sinai, and when Moses is interacting with God, and Moses asks God, hey, what is your name? What should I tell the people your name is? What does he say? The great I am. I am the great I am.
Yeah. Right.
Let's go to Muhammad Ali. I'm studying his character right now, reading some of his biographies. He wrote a poem called I Am the Greatest before he ever won the World Heavyweight Championship. 1964. Look it up on YouTube. It's about 3 minutes. It is epic. His name is Cassius Clay at the time. He starts out speaking and he's sharing, and he's like, the crowd is jeering him. You can almost imagine them, if they had tomatoes, they would be hurling tomatoes at the stage, because they're mocking him. They're like, hey, this young 22-year-old hasn't won jack squat, barely beat his previous two opponents. He's proclaiming himself as the greatest.
Right.
But he said it. This is why affirmations, spoken in a powerful I am, like I have 2 minutes of affirmations a day. I am Magic Mike. I am a wealth magnet. I am a force for good. I am an extraordinary, loving, and devoted father and uncle. Boom, boom, boom. I just go through everything. And because I'm speaking it into existence, and piece by piece, I looked at it yesterday, and I was like, wow, all these things that I wrote out. One of my first affirmations that I wrote when I was creating my first ones 11 years ago, said, I mentor and lead some of the brightest and best people in the world. All I was doing at the time, at age 31, was investing in and selling real estate. I was like, someday I'm going to do this, but it sounds weird to proclaim it. Well, now that's all I do.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. Love that. So, one of the things I also talk about is, and I tie it to this, is just an example, but 99% of the people out there that lose weight are going to gain their way back.
Yeah.
There's the yo-yo dieter. And a lot of people have the same process with their thoughts and their mindset. Yeah. Do you have any routines that people could put in place that could help them, dominate between the ears and not be that yo-yo dieter of thoughts?
All right, great. That's an excellent question, Brad. So the first thing, it's not a routine will reinforce an identity. So you need both. Okay. But the problem, the first linchpin to create is a new identity. All right, so let's look at sports. What was Kobe Bryant's alter ego?
He's a Black Mamba.
Black Mamba, beautiful. What was Bo Jackson's?
It wasn't Bo Nose, was it? Or what was he? What was it?
Jason from Friday the 13th. He was a killer on the field.
Oh, is that what he was? Okay.
Yep. Beyonce, right. Sasha Fierce. So you look at powerful Muhammad Ali. He was Cassius Clay, but he's like, hey, that's the name of a slave. That doesn't fit who I'm becoming. Mm-hmm. I'm Muhammad Ali now. Right. And he said that after he won the championship. Why did Jesus change the names of the disciples? He gave them new names, new, more empowering identities that reflected where they were going, right? Paul goes from Saul to Paul. So we think of, the first thing, that's why, like, when I went through a season where I lost a lot of money, I was like, you know what? There was shame and embarrassment, frustration, and I don't want to be weak-ass Willie was my alter ego, my disempowering alter ego. I'm Magic Mike. because I had a client that called me Magic Mike during that season because I was creating magic in her life. And so I adopted that. And then I wrote out, how does Magic Mike walk? How does Magic Mike talk? What music does he listen to? How does he show up? Does he show up with energy and confidence and vibrancy? What does he dress like? What does he, so anyway, so you figure out that powerful alter ego. So if you're trying to lose weight and anchor in that identity of the slim or healthy version of you, what is that? Because our mind, the beauty of the human mind is we can suspend our current reality and go into imaginative place. Why Einstein was obsessed with our imagination, the power of imagination. That's why he solved all these massive physics problems without even doing experiments.
Right.
He was doing thought experiments and imagination.
That is awesome. Thanks for being here, buddy. This is you are slaying. So if you were to say to the listeners out there, you want to get obsessed with blank, get obsessed with, what would you say?
Get obsessed with your genius, knowing your genius, because your genius unlocks your earning potential, unlocks your fulfillment, and unlocks your deepest impact. And here's what I mean. One of my clients came to me. She was actually in Colorado. She's a hairstylist. She was just making ends meet. She was the breadwinner of the family. Husband is in between jobs. She's making $98,000 a year as a hairstylist. She comes to me and she said, Mike, I know I'm meant to coach. I know I'm meant to be a voice and speak and mentor other women. I don't know how to get there. I was like, I could see her hunger. I could see her drive. We went through the Zone of Genius process. We went through that and how to create an irresistible offer and how to find your 4% client and all those things. Well, she goes from making $98,000 a year to that was in October October 2019 when she started working with me. December, she has her first 25K month as her side hustle. Then over the course of the next year, she doesn't just hit the $360,000 that I thought she could hit. She does over $1 million. This year, she'll clear more than or pretty close to $7 million.
What would you say what was it in her game that became her juice that allowed her to become who she's becoming?
Well, she had the hunger and the drive. She worked her butt off for it. So she had all those circumstances of what she had done a lot of preparation. Most of us have done a lot of preparation, but the challenge is she didn't have the dominoes lined up on the table. Okay. And that's why I found for every successful, so I've been mentoring two main core groups of entrepreneurs. One, e-commerce entrepreneurs, the other, so 7 and 8 figure e-com entrepreneurs, and the other is 6 and 7 figure thought leaders, authors, speakers, podcasters, consultants, coaches, etc. Right? And what I found is every successful coach and every successful personal brand, like where you're generating income, you have at least a bare minimum foundational level on these 6 pillars. Here's the 6 pillars. First, your money mindset. You got to have a healthy enough, really, if you want to make $1 million, but you resent or judge or condemn people that make more than $1 million or condemn the wealthy, you have a subconscious energetic block, because our body will not harm itself. That's why FBI lie detector test, they test your body, not your words. Second, you got to know your zone of genius. Where could you be one of the best in the world at? Yes. Socrates said, to know thyself is the beginning of all wisdom. That's why I created this whole process that I think is the greatest process I've ever seen created, at least for helping people find their deepest area of genius. Then you know how to position yourself and who you want to serve. So Kristen knew she wanted to serve high-powered women making more than 6 figures. That was her standard, especially in the multi-level marketing world. That was who she wanted to serve, and she wanted to become the voice within that. And she also, in the Zone of Genius process, she did the wealth dynamics. A star, which is what she is, I'm a creator. A star, they love being on stage. They love promoting, they love brand ambassadoring, they love shining the spotlight on others and their products and other things. Like, they love that part. Okay. Third, she found her 4% client. You know, the 80-20 principle, top 20% produce 80% of results. Well, what if we apply that again? What's the top 20% of the top 20%? That's 4%. Can they produce 80% of 80%, which is 64% of your revenue? So 4%. And if you look at every big business, Apple to Tesla to Amazon, etc., they have 4% clients that produce about 64% of their revenue. And it might be 4% and 50%, but it's somewhere in that ballpark.
Sure.
Then you create an irresistible offer for that target audience. You build expert authority. And as your brand grows, the sixth thing is you build and develop an A-player team. So Kristen did all those at least at a foundational level. And every single person that I've seen, like where it clicks, they have like you might be really healthy in your money mindset, but your offers might suck. You might not know you're a genius, or you might not, like, you've got genius in relationships. How do we hone into, how do we double down in that and find your $5,000 an hour activities in there instead of, worrying about all these $20 an hour activities you might find yourself doing?
Right. Man, that is gold. That is gold. Love it. So you have a lot of incredible clients. And by the way, we got less than 5 minutes to roll here.
Yeah, no worries.
You got all these incredible clients. You've worked with people like Tony Robbins, who's obviously a rock star. What is it about, let's just say your clients, because obviously there's so much to learn from Tony and all that jazz, but you work with clients every day. You've got these incredible masterminds with people all over the map. What is it you are learning from them that you're able to put into your game? How are they contributing to your juice? Because I don't know about you, but my juice is adding value to others. And by adding value to others, they add value to my life. I could be having a crummy day, but I get to be in front of Mike Zeller on a Monday. And man, I got fire coming out of my ass just talking to you. But that's my juice. And then I get this talk to you, and now you're giving me new juice and new tools to my shed. How are your clients doing that for you? You got a couple examples? You don't have to name names, but just some tools.
Yeah, I mean, I love one of the ones that comes to mind right now, Rachel Pastor. She went from being homeless and addicted to heroin from age I think 15 to 20 to now she's built a high six-figure coaching business. She's really building a platform as the #1 fitness mindset coach in the country. She's brilliant. She's humble. She's got this presence about her that is amazing. I think of another guy, Aaron, my good friend and client, Aaron Kovac, that we're also partnering on another venture. Dr. Aaron Kovac got a great podcast, but he's also now got multiple 7- and 8-figure businesses. We're partnering together on a new biohacking venture, and seeing him step into his genius and create space for his wife, Corey. She's a dynamic fireball. I just saw another client, Tamara Andrus. She just faced so many fears, so many steps of courage this year, and she's overcome a lot. And she hosted a massive 300-person live event last month, literally last month, that went so great, and it just broke her through a whole new paradigm. Sometimes when you're about to bust through an upper limit, your old ceiling becomes your new floor when you bust through that limit. So anyway, so it's been fun seeing some of them just really grow and shift, and that's what lights me up the most.
Man, I love that. You're an NFL fan.
Yes.
Who's your team?
The leadership side, I gotta go with,
there's hesitation.
It's Tom Brady. Okay. So whatever team he's on is my team.
Well, yeah, okay.
The leadership, like when I study my first subject of mastery was leadership. And I loved, like, you look at how he lifts up the team. He's a level 5 leader, as Jim Collins would describe. Always takes responsibility, always lifts his teammates up, gives away credit. Like, man, he's so I love the Bucks. I can't wait to watch him play tonight with my dad.
Yeah.
Who's your team?
I'm a Cowboys guy.
Oh, I like the Cowboys too, actually.
I know people tend to either love them or hate them. I started, all my favorite teams are the same teams I liked when I was 4 years old. So When I was 4, I thought the star in their helmet was cool, and I've hung with them through thick
Yeah.
and thin. They've been awful at times as well. So, but I'm like that in every sport.
Yeah.
So yeah, I stay loyal. I don't trade a whole lot, even
Yeah.
if they suck at times, or even if they got a bunch of pieces of work inside their locker
Yeah.
room.
Yeah. I
I
know what you mean.
I stick it out. But yeah, I like Tom Brady too, man. That guy's incredible. He's what, 45 now, and
Yep.
in shape and leading, and look at what he did with the Bucks last year.
Yeah.
So no, I love it.
Insane.
All right, buddy. Well, hey, you've got 30 to 45 seconds, 30 to 45 seconds with our audience to speak with them on how can they create the best version of themselves moving forward.
So, guys, your genius matters. Your gifting matters. You are uniquely positioned, but you have to create clarity. Clarity is the first of the 5 C's. Clarity precedes confidence. Confidence precedes courage. Courage precedes conviction. And when you have all those C's, the last one is commitment. And the first domino to fall is clarity. So if you want to find more clarity on your genius, you can text me at 474747. Text Genius U, as in the letter U, Genius U, to 474747, and you'll get a free 6-step guide to finding your genius. Or you can go to Amazon, pick up The Genius Within or geniuswithinbook.com. That's free. You just have to pay shipping and handling there. So that's the best spot to get it, actually. And then the Mike Zeller on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, etc. And MikeZeller.com is where I'm at. But I love unleashing people's genius and helping people step into their deepest area of purpose and passion. So however I can support, reach out. That's what I'm about. So that's my mission.
Rock star. Love it, buddy. I know you are, I mean, you got got around 400,000 followers on Instagram, and I know there's a lot of people wanting to get their hands on Zeller Nation. So I appreciate you spending time with us. You obviously got a ton to offer, and anyone that's hungry to become a better version of themselves, they'd be crazy not to hop on a call, or hop on that text, or hop on one of your socials and try to sponge up all that you have to offer. I'll make sure I put all your stuff in the notes. And man, I appreciate you. You make it a great day.
You too, Brad. Appreciate you, my friend.
Take care.